So what I'm going to do is to tell you about the previous method of restructuring a company, which is known as the scheme of arrangement. And it's important that I tell you about this because it underpins how corporate restructuring plans are dealt with. So that will be the first thing that I tell you about. Then I'm going to tell you about company voluntary arrangements. Then I'll be talking about moratoria. And finally, I'll get on to the corporate restructuring plans. And they all link with each other, which is why I'm doing all 4 points. And these 4 points are known as the Buckley test, after the textbook Buckley on the Companies Act. And these are from the words of Mr. Justice Plowman. And these are generally used. These are the 4 criteria that are used. And you can see Mr. Justice Snowden as well was referring back to them in the recent case of Ray Noble Group. So these are hallowed. It may not be absolutely what the statute says, but this is what everybody does. So the first job of the judge is to ensure that the requirements of statute are fulfilled, and that the required majorities are fulfilled, and that everybody knew what they were voting for. Then the second is to make sure that each class was fairly represented. And you'll see that point about the majority was not coercing the minority into promote some other interest. Strictly speaking, each class is supposed to vote in the interest of that class, as opposed to voting or for some other ulterior reason. Now, that's what the ideal would be. Whether you can actually check whether members of a class are voting for some other ulterior reason might, in practice, be difficult to establish. Nevertheless, that is what you're supposed to do if you vote as a class. And, of course, if everybody votes in favor, I guess it doesn't really matter. And the third point is to consider whether the scheme is a fair scheme which an honest and intelligent creditor could reasonably approve. It doesn't have to be the only fair scheme or even the best scheme, but it has to be a fair scheme. Now, it doesn't actually say that in the statute. This is judicial interpretation, but as I said, it seems to have been hallowed. And then the fourth point is that there's no blot or defect in the scheme which would make the scheme unlawful or in any other way inoperable. So these are the criteria that a judge would use.